Hit Q in console. Wait. I can't believe you just...
Internet trolls. They're everywhere. From YouTube to Reddit to Twitter to Facebook to even in our video games like Fortnite. The trolling community is larger and stronger than ever, currently accounting for 5.6% of all internet users. That's 5.6% of 3.2 billion users. And YouTubers like Maximilian Musk are at the forefront leading a countercultural revolution against mainstream culture.
Beta. Beta. That's right, be quiet, Beta. Yeah, that's right, be quiet.
Who?
That's right, be quiet, Beta.
Who?
That's right, that's exactly what I thought. You're so beta. You're a beta male. You're not even a male. Yeah, keep sighing. Like the beta you are.
In today's video, we're going to dive deep into analyzing the behavior of internet trolls through a sociological lens. And by doing so, we hope to answer these primary questions. Why do trolls exist? What do they get from it? Why are trolls toxic in online communities in the first place? Are trolls social deviants? Don't worry, we're going to explain what it means to be a social deviant. And why do trolls group together? So stick around and I promise you will learn more about the internet troll that ruins your video game matches, that crops up in your Twitter feed, that annoys you in every little way. You'll know what makes them tick and you'll know why they do it. Let's dive in. Some of you may be wondering, what even is an internet troll? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, to troll is to antagonize others online by deliberately posting inflammatory, irrelevant, or offensive comments or disruptive comments. Another definition puts it as to harass, criticize, or antagonize someone, especially by provocatively disparaging or mocking public statements, postings, or acts. And my favorite definition of all, and I find the most descriptive and real, actually comes from the Urban Dictionary. An internet troll is a person whose sole purpose in life is to seek out people to argue with on the internet over extremely trivial reasons. Such arguments can happen on blogs, Facebook, MySpace, and a host of other websites. Alright, so first let's discuss the origin of internet trolling and how they came to form their own groups and how internet trolls came about individually through some sociological terms. And I'll make sure to explain each one in depth. So there's this blog that I read called A Reasoner's Miscellany, and I'll put the link in the description down below, right? But the creator of this blog wrote an article that's called A Sociological Perspective on Internet Trolling. And I cannot agree more with his theory. I'm going to refer to and explain each part in depth and add my own insight to his theory. Alright, so first off, the origins of trolling. He has it as sort of this mind map. So first we have the internet. The internet was created in 1983 when computers started adopting TCP, transmission control protocol, between different computers. So the internet. The internet connects us all. People of different races, backgrounds, and ethnicities from all over the globe. But when did it start? When did that physical infrastructure come into place? Well, in 1967, ARPANET was created by the US military. ARPANET stands for Advanced Research Projects Agencies Network. It was a network that connected different computers in different locations in the US that the military could use to communicate long distance. There were other networks at the time. For example, the SatNet satellite network and the Hawaii-based packet radio systems called AlohaNet. those are separate networks, different from the ARPANET network. Internet. What does that word stand for? Internetworks. Interconnection between different networks. And such a thing wasn't possible until a man named Vincent Cerf dreamed up a solution that would allow such connections. And so, what was his solution? TCP. That stands for Transmission Control Protocol, and it is the internet protocol that we use to this day in conjunction with HTTP, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTPS, which adds another layer of security. And so TCP was a three-way handshake sort of system that let the data transfer happen. So what would first happen is computer A who wants to communicate with computer B, right? For example, it has movies, it has TV shows. You want those. You want it on computer A. And so what do? You send a signaling bit or number, code to computer B saying, hey, I want to make a connection with you. I want what you have. And computer B, the server that has all the movies and the good TV shows, will respond with an acknowledging signal bit saying, yes, I understand you want what I have, and I'm ready to share it with you. So step one is saying, the client is saying, I want something on the server acknowledges the request. Step three is data transfer. And so since they both acknowledge each other before the data transfer, it's secure. The computers know where the data is going. They understand both of their IP addresses, which is basically the way we identify computers on the internet. And so the transfer of data happens over in small little pieces called packets. And so the server will send the movies in little chunks over the internet through our fiber optic cables, different wires that run through the sewers, through the ocean floor, through everywhere. And so that will connect computer B to computer A. And since then, that was implemented, by the way, January 1st, 1983. Since then, it's been expanded, right? That was the basis of the internet. Now we have even more interdependent networks. In your home, right? You have a network. You have a router. You might have a router. And that router reroutes data coming in from someone else, from other servers all over the world. And it connects to your internet provider's server, and that server connects to where the data is being requested from. And so you see TCP protocol is everywhere. And the internet expanded since then, and everyone has home networks that connect to other home networks, so you can do things like online gaming, online shopping, communication, and anything you do on the internet, basically. But you got to remember, the internet is physical. It's physical, so it costs money. It takes up space. And it's different from the World Wide Web. And so, back to the sociology. I'm a bit of a tech geek. So, the internet leads or has led to globalization. So, globalization was a term coined by Harvard professor Theodore Levitt in the 80s. Globalization is the connection of different parts of the world, and it results in the expansion of international culture and economic and political activities. And because the internet is in basically every country except like the country I'm from, Cuba, because it's in every country, it connects people in the online space, the World Wide Web. And so the World Wide Web is built off of the internet, right? The physical infrastructure. And on the World Wide Web, that's like when you go to www.anything, people have made different websites, like like YouTube, Reddit, different things that you can connect to anonymously. And you might say, oh, it's not really anonymous. I mean, like, Google tracks you. They know your IP address. Like, everyone knows who you are. Those are the things, like, that sort of tracking, you don't always see it face to face. So it feels like you're anonymous, even when you're really not. So when you have masses of anonymous people congregate in online communities, online spaces, like Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, even smaller websites that I might create in the future or I have created, people care less about how they're viewed, how they're seen. When you walk down the street, right, you care about the shirt you're wearing, whether or not this button is on, whether or not your glasses are straight, because you want people to view you nicely. You want them to have a good impression of you. And that goes straight into the next part of this equation. There's a decline of impression management when we're in these online spaces. So that's based off, impression management is a term based off of dramaturgy theory, which was created by sociology theorist Goffman. And basically, the idea behind dramaturgy is our entire world is a play. It's all a big game. And we're putting on an act for everyone around us. And so when we're on the front stage, we got to perform our best. We have to look our best, and we have to be the smartest. We have to be the best. But then when we're all by ourselves, we revert back to our backstage behavior. We're on the backstage. We can take a backseat. We can relax. We can be who we really are. On the World Wide Web, people feel like they're on the backstage most of the time, and so we see more of that behavior. We see who they really are. We see their true colors. We see how they are when they don't have the pressure of millions, or what might feel like millions of people watching them from the audience. On the World Wide Web, for the most part, there's a lack of social control. I mean, it differs in different countries, obviously, but for the most part, there's no governing agency stopping or regulating how you behave on the internet, besides like specific end user agreements with the company's website that you're using. But besides that, you're kind of free to be who you are or to do what you want. Yeah, because of that lack of social control, in the real world, there's lots of social control coming in from, it could be law enforcement, which is be described as agent of socialization, enforces that you behave in a certain way, and they socialize you so they make you automatically behave in the correct way as deemed by our law and deemed by what's acceptable in your society. And because we don't have that in the internet, people misbehave more, or they troll more. And so that's how you get trolls. It all results from, so to recap, the internet plus globalization means that there's everyone online in an anonymous space, the World Wide Web. And because of that, there's decline of impression management. There's for the front stage, and there's more backstage behavior apparent on the World Wide Web. And due to the nature of the internet, there's decline of social control, which leads to individuals trolling. So as I said, that leads to the individual troll. And this process can lead other trolls to emerge, right? So you get troll A, troll B, troll C. They all do their thing in slightly different ways, but now they all have something in common. They all identify with being a troll. And because of that, they identify with each other. They want to be together, and they form a group of internet trolls that are band together to be stronger together, right? And groups exist in other groups. That is the nature of groups, as weird as it sounds. And so you get this group of trolls, right? And the larger group, all internet users, right? And so Trolls, while they're 5.6% of the internet, or who self-identify as trolls, they're still the minority, because more than 95% is not an internet troll, right? And so they're the minority in this group. They're the out group, and the in group would be the majority of us. The way I just described the origins of internet trolling was through a very structural functionalist point of view. So you may be wondering what that means, right? So there's three main theories in sociology, and most sociologists choose one that they align with the most, and they work through that theory. And the theory you choose, if you decide to go deeper into sociology, could be based off like your personal experience or what you identify with the most. And so in structural functionalism, it is a sociological theory that attempts to explain why society functions the way it does by focusing on the relationships between different groups. And so the theory that I focus on is based off of group dynamics and the relationship between internet trolls as a minority and all internet users as the majority. So that difference could be emphasized more through a conflict theory point of view. So conflict theory focuses on how people of different groups, or how there's inherent conflict that arises between people who are different. And so, for example, in racial conflict theory or gender conflict theory, people of different races and genders inherently have conflict. And so conflict theorists help to see how like that conflict could help us better understand our society. And so obviously there's conflict between the minority trolls and the majority, the rest of the internet users. The conflict being the trolls are bothering the majority, and the majority dislikes the minority for doing so, right? And the third sociological theory is symbolic interactionism. And so what does that mean? So that's more on a micro level. Before we're talking more macro with structural functionalism and conflict theory, on the micro level we're asking like, why does this individual, what makes them do this certain thing? What of their values, of their culture, what makes them behave a certain way? And so it's more about the individual experience and how that informs their decision, as opposed to groups and clustering people together. So I've been reading this book, Outsiders by Howard S. Becker, Studies in the Sociology of Deviance. And in this book, which was, by the way, published in 1963, Becker breaks down the different types of deviant behavior. If you're perceived as a deviant and you're showing obedient behavior, you're falsely accused. If you're showing rule-breaking behavior and you're perceived as deviant, you're a pure deviant. You're 100% a deviant. You know it. Everyone knows it. If you're showing obedient behavior and you're not perceived as deviant, you're conforming. You're conforming to the rules of the society, and you're not suffering any consequences. And if you're exhibiting rule-breaking behavior, but you're not perceived as a deviant, you're perceived as conforming, you are a secret deviant. And so Becker applied this theory and these different types of deviant behavior to the study of marijuana users, as in researching them, because the vast majority of them happen to be secret deviants. And a question commonly asked by the conforming individual in a society is, what kind of person would break such an important rule? And the answer typically given is one who's different from the rest of us, who cannot or will not act as a more human being, and therefore might break other important rules. The deviant identification becomes the controlling one, the master status, the way we identify that deviant, and it overrides every other good aspect of their life. Treating a person as though they were generally, rather than specifically deviant, produces a self-fulfilling prophecy, leading to that person believing that that's all they can do in life, that they can't get better, that they're evil. And the more we tell them that, the more they actually believe it, and the worse they get, and the more rules they break. So in a sense, it's our own fault that they're deviants by doing that. But on the opposite end, any of us could be deviants. We've all had deviant thoughts. They pop into our mind for a second, and most of us just extinguish them. We don't act on them. We forget them. And we should have a bit more sympathy for those internet trolls or any sorts of deviants that you might see in any part of your life. They're normal human beings like you and me. So according to this article from alternet.com, internet trolls explain why they do what they do, written by Callie Holloway. One masterful troll, Ken M, is famous for acting like a moron on comment sections of Yahoo. He started trolling after realizing it was meaningless to try to start serious conversations with random people on the internet. He is loved and considered one of the best trolls of all time. One time when he was invited to a news station to discuss Edward Snowden, he instead spent 4 hours discussing Edward's Scissorhands, essentially mocking the media and wasting their time. Another troll uses it for slightly more political reasons. I use trolling because trying to get through to the most right-wingers with logic is nearly impossible. I know because I was raised in a very conservative household. And he does it for the kicks, saying, I like to have fun, but I have no problem screen capping someone's online comments and sending it to their employer. Why he trolls? Trolling is a form of therapy to me. It's fun to blow off steam at the end of a long day at work by making some conservative figure on Twitter lose their minds or go to racists on Reddit into saying things that might get them banned by the mods. Finally, another troll explains why he started doing it. If I had to guess, I think I started trolling because I had no other real outlet in my life, be it creative, emotional, or otherwise. I was essentially sad and miserable and didn't have many friends. But nobody knew that on the internet, so they took what I had to say seriously, at least for a time. Moments of success made me feel almost giddy, like I couldn't stop smiling. I felt like a bizarre kind of power too. I love making them, the other forum posters, into my little action figures that I was controlling by making them react to all these ridiculous posts. Bizarre, I know. Eventually I made a few friends but enjoyed trolling so much that I just kept doing it. Nothing made me feel the same way. Alright, so here are some common trends I noticed among these 3 different internet trolls. First of all, they're all deviants. If we go back to the definition of deviance as defined by Mosby's Medical Dictionary 8th edition 2018, social deviant is behavior that violates social standards, engendering anger, resentment, and a desire for punishment in a significant segment of the society or culture. And while there aren't any specific rules on the internet, there are some unspoken customs or culture around it, like you don't post inflammatory remarks designed to get other people angry, i.e. trolling. So in this regard, they're all deviants. If we go back to the chart that I referred to earlier, they would all be considered secret deviants because they're exhibiting rule-breaking behavior, but they're not perceived as deviant in the real world. Therefore, they're secret deviants, and only they know it, and only the people they interact with know that they're deviant. Additionally, they all use internet trolling as an outlet, as a way of expression, as a way to blow off some steam, as a way to be who they would be if they hadn't had to manage their impression in front of other people, i.e. front stage behavior. Front stage behavior is exhausting. Another thing I noticed was they each had a specific reason that connected but diverged from the real world personalities. For example, one was a political troll who wanted to get conservatives angry, and he's a conservative himself, but he doesn't really want to make other conservatives angry in the real world, but online he can do that. And then lastly, the psychology. So I'm not sure because this video focuses on the sociology and the group dynamics, symbolic interactionism of each individual internet troll. I'm not sure how internet trolls might be chemically different from other people, but I'm gonna link some videos in the description so you can research that on your own. That's it for the video. Woo! I encourage you to research more the sociology behind internet trolls, and if you're into psychology, also look into that. I encourage you to understand 5.6% of 3.2 billion people, right? So research it, tell me what you find, and if you want, correct anything that might have been stated incorrectly in this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share this video. Thanks.